Hi there guys, hopefully you're all doing well. I'm Neil at Italia Autos and I'm back again with this Alfa 145. After last week's episode we got the engine out, removed the subframe and we found some extra rust spots. So today I'm going to be repairing those. So right, this is the side I'm going to be repairing today. We've got all the way along here, this little bit of rust behind here and that hole up there. But what I have done off camera, so what I have already done is I've repaired this side, cut it all out, treated all the metal inside with some rust converter, welded a new piece in, and we have primed it and we have painted it so it is a nice shiny black, but I imagine that will all be getting stone chipped once it's finished anyway. And let me go and turn my compressor off. So first of all I need to start by removing as much of the loose rust as possible, so I'm going to get my wide wheel out and get rid of as much as I can. So right guys, starting off with the wire wheel, removing all of this loose rust and hopefully getting a little bit of bare metal behind it. Always the first step I always do, it gives you more of an idea of what you've got left to tackle. And also when customers call me and ask me how much is it going to cost, it's very hard to tell them until you've done this stage, because as you can see, it looks fairly solid up until you get rid of all the crusty rust and you're left with a lot bigger hole than what you originally saw. I also try and take it back so I've got as much clean metal and thick metal as I can to work with. So now we can see what we've got to work with, and we've got three little bits we've got to repair. There's a little hole which has come up here, which is only tiny and I need to probably do a little spot weld on that. We've got this bit along here to repair. We've got the sort of the floor pan part here, which has got to be brought out and down and then weld on top with the piece which goes on there. Now this piece here does actually disappear behind here. So what I might do is just weld along to that point there. I do need to clear out this little bit more here because there's still more rust to get rid of. And now I always mark it up with some nice bright masking tape so I can see what I'm doing, because when I'm wearing my welding goggles or my cutting mask, it's very hard to see where you're cutting, so this makes sure you get a reasonably decent line. It also makes it a little bit easier finding where the decent metal is because you can mark it up beforehand. Some areas can be a little challenging to cut out because you've got such a big grinder and it's quite awkward to get into the little nooks and crannies, as you'll see on the right hand side in a bit. It's quite awkward to get into that corner just to cut that out, so I think I did a diagonal line instead. It also meant I've got more decent metal. Now I'm just drilling out the spot welds. A lot of the time it's rusted that badly you have no idea where the spot welds are, but luckily on this case you can still see them. I am using a spot weld drill bit so it doesn't drill into the metal behind. And with those spot welds drilled, you can see how easy it is to remove. I see I did miss one. With a slight tap of a hammer and off that one came. And it reveals yet more rust behind. Quick clean up now with the sanding disc to remove the rust behind, and I've got a nice clean surface to start working on. Quick clean up with the old sanding disc to get rid of the old rust, and then just got to cut out that last little bit in the corner and we're ready to start making some repair patches. bit worried on whether I'd actually be able to get in to cut the other side of this hole, but I did manage it just about. Luckily, the rust wasn't any bigger. Now here, a bit of scrap paper that I'm using to mark the shape I need. There are many other different ways of doing this, but this is the way I find works best. Sometimes you don't always get the perfect shape, but most of the time it's within a few millimeters, so you can work with that because you can always fill the gaps when you're welding. And here you can see I've marked it a little larger than I have on the piece of paper, because I know I can grind that a bit down once it's filled. It's a lot difficult to add metal rather than take it away. Ouch, that was a little bit hot. Oh, yeah, that's a little bit hot. I should learn to wear thicker gloves, but hey ho. Now just offering up the repair patch just to make sure it's the right sort of size. I did actually trim it down a few little pieces just to get the line straighter, but I did leave the outside bit on so I can grind that down afterwards to the right shape. All to the right size now, so let's just start tacking it in. Sorry about my camera focus, it's decided to focus more on my arm than it did the actual welding, so apologies for that. Again, quite an awkward spot to get into for welding, so you can only weld it in certain directions. And there we go, all nice and tight. Let that cool down a little bit, and now I can start to remove the excess metal and get the nice rounded shape that I need to weld on the front piece too. Again, I've cut the front piece a little bit too long, so I can grind it down to the right size once it's all welded in. Welding all done on this part now, just grinding it all down as you focus on my elbow yet again. Yes, I'm still using the same old grinder with the broken switch, so I have to keep holding it up. One day I will replace it. It's also quite hard getting the right camera angle because you're so limited on where you can put the camera. Unfortunately, you do have to focus more on my body than you do on the task at hand. Making another repair panel now. So this one's quite a bit large, as you can see more what I'm doing, just rubbing my dirty fingers against the line just to create a line for me to cut out. I always use a weldable acid etch primer on both sides of the panel, ones that I'm welding in and the bits that are already there. It just helps stop rust forming. Once this is all welded up anyway, I've got that massive hole up there which I'm going to spray lots of wax oil into. And unfortunately, me setting it up, I'm blowing a few holes through the metal, but unfortunately that does happen quite regularly. But it's no hardship to fill the holes with a little bit of weld. I'm not the best welder in the world, but it gets the job done. As you can see, the patch was a little bit out. You can see like an extra couple of millimetres up there, but it's not difficult to fill it with your welds. Grinding them down to get a nice smooth panel now, because my welds can be massive sometimes. It also gives you a nicer finish when you can't see the welds. It sort of makes it look a little bit more original. Now I'm just cutting the excess off the bottom, so I've got a nice line which matches to the original. And now onto my sanding disc, just to get rid of any sharp edges, because it can be left quite sharp and it will slice your finger open if you're not careful. Now just getting ready just to give a little tack over that little hole there. So it was that small, it didn't really need cutting out. Just get rid of that little bit of excess. Then just giving it a really generous coat of this rust converter, because I know there's going to be some rust left up on the left, there might be some left up on the panel, so it's just better to take the most precautions to stop any rust coming back. Then I'll leave this to dry for probably around 8 hours, just so it's nice and hard, and then we can put a nice coat of primer on it. Just drill 2 small holes and then I can just weld them up, and that makes the panel nice and tight to the panel behind. I will leave a little bit of the weld showing, so in future if it does ever need drilling out again, you can still see where the spot welds are. Now we're all dry, another nice coat of acid etch primer. Let that dry for a few hours and move on to the black. What I've also done off camera is also removed all the rust in the rest of the arch on the suspension turret and around all the edges, and I treated that and painted that. You'll see that a little bit later on in the video. So hopefully you've enjoyed this narration, and I'll let you carry on watching it now. So there we go, guys. One rust repair all done. What I will probably do just to finish it off once the car is finished, give the hole under the arch a coat of stone chip on both sides, but I've still got the other side to finish. What I've also done is I have repaired this hole here. That is all gone now. I have still got to drill the hole, but I'll do that when I'm putting the arch liner back on, and also then treat it for rust again. So that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. In the next episode, I'm pretty sure we'll be tackling the rust in the engine bay. And that's going to take quite a while to do because there's a fair old chunk of rust. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.